Change, otherwise known as the C2C podcast that gives a voice to people who may be considered a small fry in their industry, but are doing big things in their communities. I am Miss Nikki. I am the Jane of all trades, but the master of living. I am committed to introducing to you local VIPs, which are vivaciously inspiring people to let you know what is possibly happening around you in your area. Well, the following guest, or today's guest, I should say, is coming all the way from Canada. And I had the pleasure of being introduced to her through a business group that I was in. And I actually met a number of wonderful women who were part of this group. And she delighted me in saying yes when I asked her if she would be willing to be a guest on the show. So I'm really excited that she is going to share with you her story and what she offers to this world. So coming up is Miss Ashley Provencher. She started by owning her own brick and mortar called Golden Rays Apothecary and Wellness as a holistic healthcare practitioner. Now, of course, many people have transitioned due to COVID. She was one of them. She transitioned to online, and then she shifted to offering one-on-one coaching because she believes that she can make a bigger impact individually. She is a certified herbalist, Reiki Master teacher, and intuitive. And since she has pivoted her business to focus on life coaching, she can bring all of her tools now of the trade all together. And so all this combined will help to create stronger women because she believes in emphasizing balance of the whole person and teaches women to be empowered and confident to get them on the path they deserve. Now, Ashley's no stranger to the path or the struggle, to the journey, because she herself battles with MS daily. With her journey, she understood that she herself needed to change in order to change the world around her. And she wanted to take those steps that she took and teach them to other people. And she knew that by changing her own spiritual, mental, and emotional health, she was able to take charge of her own physical health. And now she's helping thousands of women do the same thing. So I want you to listen in as Ashley Provencher tells her story and how she committed her life to change. Learn. All right, so let's get started. I have in the house Miss Ashley Provencher. Did I say your last name? I always say did I say it right?
Well, technically, if you're French, it's Provencher.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me see if I can get that. Provencher.
Yeah, good job.
Hey, okay. So welcome to the C2C podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. I would love for you to tell a little bit more about who you are, and then I'm going to ask you some kind of icebreaker, kind of not necessarily icebreaker, but just like some fun facts about Miss Ashley. Okay. So tell us why you're on the show today. Like, what do you do? How do you help others? And then we'll continue after.
Okay. So yes, I'm Ashley Provencher because we are in eastern or western part of Canada, so French is a really far away. So don't worry about my last name and pronouncing it properly or not. I am a confidence consultant, which is my very unique twist on life coaching. Basically, I take these. I help women who are in either startup entrepreneurship fields or established small businesses or want to climb that ladder and just need some a boost in their confidence and their empowerment and their mindset, right? Because being in business, we all know that it can be a mind game. I'm trying to think of words that don't involve swearing. But it's hard sometimes, right? And So I had a brick and mortar a few years ago, and COVID happened and I had to shut it down and I had to repivot my business, but I'm a holistic healthcare practitioner. I do energy work, I read cards, and it's all with the intent in mind to help you heal what's holding you back, right? So those limiting beliefs, those traumas that I find that limiting beliefs are really rooted in traumas from your past. We go through that. I give you the tools to heal that, and then then you get some more confidence, and then you start to realize that you are in charge of your own reality and you can make it whatever you want it to be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. So I had to ask, because you said that you do your cards. So do you have your cards with you today?
I actually do.
Ooh. Do you do something where you kind of like I pull one off the deck and this tells you your destiny? Do you do something like that? I don't know anything about cards yet.
I absolutely can.
Ooh,
So if you want to just wait a second, I have them in that red bag that you can see hanging there. I have them in there.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So we're gonna take a pause. All right. So now my question to you while you're getting that together is, we know the pandemic has taken a toll on all of us, and because we were all stuck at home, there's a lot of people who had the time to binge or build, whichever it was. So tell me, what did you do, binge or build?
A little of both.
Okay. So I'm curious, what did you binge on?
Well, I binge on a lot of food. But also, like, I watch a lot of Netflix. I'm a big reader though, and so the Netflix was the nighttime part, but I would binge on books and I would read, like, I find that when I'm playing avoidance and I don't want to deal with something, I can gobble up novels, and I could read, I think my maximum that I've ever read in like a full 7-day period, it was like 5 novels. And we're not even talking like little like novellas where there's like 100 pages. We're talking like 300-400 page novels, because I'll binge on them because I don't, what it is avoidance. And COVID brought out a lot of avoidance in everybody, right? And I started to notice that pattern in myself, probably September. So the pandemic hit Canada like in March. I think it hit the whole world in March, but we really got lockdowns and stuff like that happening in March. And it was September where I started to realize, like, I've spent a lot of money on books. Like a lot of money
to read them, right?
Well, absolutely. I had all the time in the world. I'm like, well, I work from home. Like I pivoted to online space. And that was in itself a whole other reason why I was binging and avoiding, because it was a weird place for me to be. And then, I realized, like, I don't need to spend $100 a week on books. Like, I could probably do something more productive. And so then it started to go into like binging on like healthier habits. So I was starting to work out more, and I started to, not as often as I probably could have, but I started to work out more.
For that. The point is that you did start something, and there's people who have not even done that. So you're a step ahead.
Right. Yes. And I'm a big believer in, like, it doesn't matter what you start and what you stop and how committed you are to that routine at the beginning. It's the fact that you are committed to making a change, committed to wanting something better for yourself. And that was your driving force. And that's why you started in the first place. And so I tell all my clients, like, just be compassionate with yourself, have grace, and hold space for yourself while you're moving through this, because a new habit is so difficult to start and maintain.
Absolutely. And you hear that plug, guys? She said you have to commit to change.
Right?
You know, I had to get that in there. So, okay, I need to know what your secret is, because don't you have 2 kids?
Yes. Yeah, I've got a 9-year-old and a 7-year-old.
How were you able to be left alone to read? My children don't leave me alone. And they're teenagers where you would think they would be on their own thing. They don't leave me alone. I wish I could sit and read some books or just be to myself.
Well, I didn't really ignore them, but I kind of felt like I just like they're 9 and 7. They wanted to play in the yard and they wanted to go to the park and like, okay. Just come
Okay.
home. They'll have a watch on. Come home at this time. Check in.
All right. Well, that makes sense. Okay. I have to shoo mine out of the house then. That's what I'm going to do.
Oh, I had to literally take away like gaming consoles and tablets. Like I had to take them away
Oh, wow.
to get them outside.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, that's good.
And it's I'm one of those like mid generations. Like I'm not a Gen Xer, but I'm not a millennial. Like I'm born in that weird time zone. They say like 1978 to 1983. Well, I'm in that group, right? And so yeah, tablets are fantastic, but so is going outside and playing.
Yeah.
So I was never raised with tablets. And my mom always said, like, I'm not here to entertain you. Find something to do.
Right. And I tell that to my kids all the time, but they don't seem to get that. Because if you take the electronics away, it's like then it's mom's entertainer time. So it's like, but
right.
I'm just thinking one of my children are old enough now to work and she wants to get a job. So I'm like, okay. But then of course I become the
chauffeur.
Yeah.
I know a friend of mine just went through that. Her daughter went and got a job and now she's chauffeur. And she's like, I thought having my daughter working would be so much great, like so much free time. But now I have to plan my life around her work schedule.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's pros and cons to every age group that your children go through, right? Like I'm not in teenage years yet.
Right.
But my 9-year-old little boy, he's always going to be a little boy to me. But eventually, you know, little boys turn into little teenage boys. And I don't know if I'm equipped to deal with that. So that is my husband's job. And I've talked to him extensively. I'm like, I'm not.
One day at a time. One day at a
right.
time. Okay, so before you pull your card, you have to tell what was the show that you binge the most on at nighttime? You said you did that at night.
Well, there's a couple of them that are, so I'm really into the paranormal sci-fi type genre. So I was watching Lucifer until it was over, and Lucifer's second part of season 5 came out. So anybody that's watching and is like a Lucifer fan, I feel like yes, it's sad. So Lucifer and oh shoot, I see it in my mind. It's on Netflix. It's one of the paranormal or supernatural type of shows, but I can't. Oh, Exorcist. It's a show based on the book and the movie, right, back in the 70s. And so The Exorcist is like fantastic. And I like the scary ones. I'm like, ooh, give me the scariest ones.
I see. I see. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing with us. All right. So now let's see. So those of you who are listening in, you're going to miss the card pull, but you'll get to hear it. And if you want to visually see it, you definitely can go on our YouTube page and check it out. So without further ado, Miss Ashley, do what you do.
Hey. Okay, let's pull. So I'm pulling from the Oracle deck, Angels and Ancestors. It's a Kyle Gray deck, just in case there's listeners or watchers that like card decks. And, you know, I'm always on the hunt for new decks, and I like it when I know what decks they're pulling from. So I always announce like, hey, this is the deck I'm using today. Okay, so this is a great one for like everybody out there. It's the warrior. Be fearless and stand strong. There are so many things going on in this world today. There was like last year, there was a huge movement started in the States. Here in Canada, we felt that, we accepted that, and we acknowledged that because we have our own form of systemic racism against Aboriginal Indigenous people here. lately we've just, in the past week, we have, it's been announced that there's a mass grave of 215 children from residential schools. So we are all going through some like really, really big things that are hurting a lot of our population, right?
Yeah.
Again, it's just another form of the Black Lives Movement, of, you know, the Indigenous people up here, like their lives matter too, right? And so we feel that in Canada in a different way. But we all have to stand strong and be fearless when it comes to standing up for other people, standing up for what we believe in is right, and being fearless in the fact that we can say, hey, you know, that was wrong, and that's atrocious, and we don't agree with that. And I'm talking about allies, and I'm talking about people who, you know, who believe in like Black Lives Matter and Indigenous Lives Matter and children matter. And, you know, because there are people out there that will take my message of be fearless and stand strong and spout their hate. And that's not what I'm talking about. So I just want to clear that up. But everything else too, like the COVID, be fearless and stand strong in what you want now, right? COVID brought a whole lot of awakenings in every aspect, not even just spiritual awakenings, but like, what do I want to do with my life? Where do I want to go? What's important to me? Right. And so take those values that you have really learned last year, or the last 14 months at least, and stand strong and fearless when saying, I stand for this.
Yeah.
Right. So this is a great, great card. And I'll show it again because it's beautiful. Right. It's a beautiful card. And, you know, stand up for, you know, if you want to go and travel, right? Like go and experience things and learn new cultures and get that knowledge, and, you know, and quit that job if you're unhappy, leave that relationship if it's no longer serving your highest good. Like this is right. Like,
I'm like saying, I'm trying to be girlfriend and at the cafe at the same time. What is it? What cafe?
Snapping?
Yeah. What is the cafe when you do the, what is that called? When they're saying spoken word, that's right. When they're
right.
Yeah. So I'm trying to do the like preach and cafe stuff at the same time. I don't think that works.
Yeah, but it's an important message. And I really think that we've all lived in fear of being judged far too long. And when we can accept our own self, which is, I'm hoping that the majority of people out there have done in these past 14 months, is really taken a good hard look at who they are, areas that they can fix and be stronger, and, you know, not fix, I don't like that word, but accepting, you know, because we all have weaknesses, we all have a shadow side, and that side is where we keep things that we don't like, or that we're afraid that somebody's going to judge us for, right? So we put that all in the shadow, and it's time to bring our shadow out. It's time to say, you know what, I was an asshole 5 years ago, but I'm not that person anymore. And, you know, people can change. And so that judgment is no longer, I think it has to go away, but it starts with us.
Absolutely. It's really about being true to who you are. And the whole time that we were, you know, away and had the time to reflect, hopefully most of us did take that time to reflect, because we were touched in some way or another, some closer than others, to what was going on. But this is, now that we're starting to open up again, this is like an ideal time to say, okay, well, who do I want to show up as in this world now? Like we're coming back to, and again, it's not normal, it's not how it used to be. This is a whole new world now. So we just have to think, okay, how do I want to show up in this new world? How do I want to show up as in my neighborhood, in my community, and how do I want to give back, or how do I want to help, or just whatever, just how do I want to be, you know? And so, you know, it makes me think too, like what you were talking about, because you've gone into coaching and wanted to help others. What drove you into doing that? Because you did say you were building also during the pandemic. So like, tell us a little bit about that. Like, you know, what drove you into that?
I've always just been a helper, right? I've always been somebody who just found fulfillment in being of service to other people, right? So like I'll give you the shirt off my back if possible, right? If and I mean, sometimes I get myself into a little hot water when I'm, because I will literally, like, I'll give you everything without considering my own needs, right? So building in that aspect, I really took a look, okay, well, where am I going to, like, my purpose in life is to be of service, to be a helper, to help people just in general. But I had, when I was building the repivoting, so I had a holistic health center here in my city. It's Prince George, BC, and it was great because I'm a certified herbalist, so I would make herbal remedies for people that are having ailments and didn't like their medications, or maybe they're having side effects from medications that they wanted just something natural to help with. So I was helping in that aspect, and then Reiki, I was helping people process, whether it's traumas or past life experiences, or, they just needed some sort of stress reduction, stress relief, right? So I was helping in that aspect, but I didn't really have a niche. I didn't have like a market that I was selling to, because everybody could literally benefit from my service. That was my downfall a little bit in my brick and mortar. Now that I take a look back and like objectively, like, was business really actually going super well for me? No. Why? Because I was giving away everything, right? So in my building period last year, I was building that niche, and I was deciding, okay, who specifically do I want to help, right? And I am a feminist at heart, and I wanted to help women. I wanted to help women figure out, why they do why do they continue to do the same things over and over and over again when it brings them such sadness and such heartache. Because I could clearly see it, but they can't, because when we're in the middle of something, we can't see what's really the cause of it, right? And a lot of times it's self-worth issues and et cetera, but they also wouldn't be able to move up and work in their jobs. They loved their career, but they couldn't move up. And I'm like, well, why? What's holding you back, right? So I started to really figure out, okay, well, I was started to become a women's empowerment coach. I thought, okay, well, I'll just turn myself as a women's empowerment coach, and I'll help women just like take back their power. Most of the time it was taken away by men and authority figures. So, okay, let's uncondition the brain and reprogram it with these good, healthy thoughts and habits. And then things got a little tricky, that aspect too, because I couldn't clearly define what I was doing. Empowerment is such like a catch-all phrase, right?
Right.
And then, as time went on, I started to really look at my program and where I was happiest the most, what kind of women that I was working with that was bringing me the most joy. And that's women in business, right? And so it wasn't so much of a building of like clientele, it was a building of my own confidence, because I was able to look at my niche and be like, I'm not even going in the direction I want it to go. And so I actually did another repivot, and I'm still coaching, but in a different aspect.
Mm-hmm. So did you find, I mean, besides your pivoting, because that kind of answers the question of when you had obstacles, what did you do? You pivoted, right? But did you find that there was any particular things that held you back? Because, sometimes when we're going after goals, we do reach, or we hit adversity sometimes. Did you find that you had um, any roadblocks in your way? And if so, how did you deal with them?
Yeah, I was actually terrified of my own success. And that was like when I really started, because I do introspection every single day, right? I'm like, why was yesterday such a shit day? Okay, let's figure it out, right? So I started to realize that I had a pattern with every time I got really, like, I would blow my own socks off. I'm like, I'd watch something, I'm like, oh my God, I did that. Or I wrote a piece of content and I'm like, that is amazing. And then I would get scared and I wouldn't answer messages. I wouldn't go live. I wouldn't answer emails. I would literally be so terrified of my potential that I would change into sweatpants, and that's when I would binge and read and, stuff like that. So once I really felt or figured that out, that, I was like, okay, well, I'm afraid of failure. And I'm like, but I failed before and I'm not afraid of that. That's not something that would stop me. What is it really? Right. And all of a sudden somebody said something about how we can have a fear of success. And it just sat with me a different way. And I thought, well, why would that be? Why am I afraid of success? And I still don't have the full answer. Like, I'm still because every day it kind of changes a little bit. And I'm like, well, I'm okay with success because that means it's a better life for my family.
Right.
But my biggest thing is I'm going to get into, I'm going to quote some Brene Brown. Okay. So just so that way everybody knows, this isn't from these aren't my words. But she has a thing on Netflix, which I binge a lot of that on Netflix. But she's got this series or this show on Netflix right now. And she talks about getting in the arena. Right. And I'm like, hey, yeah, I can get in the arena. I can be there. I can be I can face fear. I can face failure. But if I win in that arena, what the fuck does that, what does that mean? Okay. I'm really passionate there for a second. But what does that mean to me? And I'm like, it means that I'm visible. Mm-hmm. And that is part of that fear of success, is I'm afraid to be seen.
It's being held accountable. Yeah. Because I know, when I think about in the realm of doing the Self-Lift Network, and with me consistently battling with depression, and it's like, well, how can I call myself a leader if I am continuing my battle, myself? And it's like, well, I've had to go on both ends where I'm like, well, that's the whole point, is you've been through it, you're going through it, and you have the skills to get you through it, which means you are now an even better teacher. And but of course the other side of it is oh, I'm supposed to lead by example, I suck, blah blah blah. But it really is if I'm going to show up in this manner, then I better be on my P's and Q's and make sure that I'm standing for exactly what it is that I'm preaching, So it's kind of that whole thing of, well, if I'm successful, am I going to be able to handle the success? Can I be held accountable for this new position that I'm holding? And then when it comes monetarily, because of course, when with success and with when you're moving in your passion, I believe full-heartedly that the monetary value comes automatically and naturally without you trying to work at it. But it's something where if you also don't know how to handle that part, kind of like people winning the lotto. They don't know what to do with it. If they didn't learn what to do with it from the beginning, then they lose it, and then they could lose the genuity of why they originally started in the first place, because you'll take it to your head, and then you're like, then it's ego gets involved. So it's like what is it, new level, new devil? Yeah. That part, it comes with this. So of course, when you think, maybe you didn't think of it in that detail, but all of that comes into play when you're stepping up and moving into a whole other realm. And then of course, what is it? Jay-Z said, more money, more problems. People start coming to you and try to attack who you are. And so it's easier to stay under the wraps. It's kind of like, well, I'm just going to stay on this level so that way I'm not intimidating anyone, but I'm helping a few people. Yeah. I know if I raise up and I'm in the Tony Robbins era, or, people are going to come at you and they're going to start nitpicking everything you do. And you're like, well, am I ready for that? Do I want to be bothered? Do I want to step into that, as you said, the arena where you can be seen by everybody, that they can judge you because you're not wearing the right sandals in the dirt that's in the arena? I'm thinking of what is that?
Like a Coliseum, like the
Yes, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, that's exactly like when I watched that, because this is the second time I just finished watching it the other day. I was having a really rough mind drama day, and I was like, I'm going to watch some Brene Brown. So Brene Brown is like one of my idols, right? Tony Robbins, Brene Brown, Oprah. Those three, and Gabby Bernstein. Gabby Bernstein, I like her because she's no bullshit. And I'm very much like that, right? And she's like, I'll tell you, I had postpartum depression. Absolutely. All right. And I'm like, yeah, you say that, right? So those are my four go-tos. And I was having just that day, and when she was like, yeah, like the haters are gonna come. And I asked, so I stopped and I looked at, like I looked out the window and I was thinking, and I'm like, am I ready for the haters? And I'm like, yeah, I am. Like, I am at this point where I am okay. If somebody is going to hate on me for the message that I have to say and share, and the job that I'm doing, because that I feel is my highest purpose, is to help women achieve amazing things in life. And so if I'm getting hate on because of that, I don't care. I don't care. And so I'm like, yeah, okay. And it did it. Like there's always tears when I watch Brene Brown. There's always tears when I watch Oprah. There's always tears when I watch Tony Robbins and Gabby Bernstein. There's always tears, but those tears are breakthroughs for me. And so I'm crying and I'm like, I want haters. My sister looks at me and she's like, what did you say? I want haters. But that was a turning point for me. And I realized, I'm like, okay, I have the confidence to be able to lead women where they haven't been before, right? And I did this this online virtual conference. It was a 4-day conference with Tony Robbins and Dean. I can't Grazoli. I am so sorry if I butchered that last name. But and then there was a ton of other guest speakers, right? So it was called the Own Your Own Future Challenge. And I was watching something, and Dean Grazioli, that's it, Dean Grazioli. He had this flip chart, and he's like, okay, so he drew a line, and I'm going to draw it. And there was a dip, right? So there's like this line, and then a dip, and then this other line. He's like, you've been here, you've gone all the way through this cavern, and you ended up on the other side. He goes, but you went through that so you could help people build a bridge. I'm like, yes, I help people build a bridge, right? Like, it was just, I'm like, I'm not afraid to go down there anymore. Like, if my client is in the pit of like, I don't know where I'm going or what I'm doing, I'm willing to go down there and help them climb up, and I'll hold their hand throughout the dark, right? But it doesn't mean that I have to be this great Tony Robbins person in order to do that. I can do that now.
Right.
So
would you feel, I mean, do you feel that that's the way that you're giving back to your community, is offering your services and what you're doing in healing and coaching?
Absolutely. Giving back to my community is probably the number one thing. It's always been my motto. My business, so Golden Rays, has always donated time, donated gift certificates, donated things to auctions for small businesses, for just fundraisers for people with cancer, or somebody's house burnt down, or I'm the co-chairwoman of the MS Walk in our city, and on behalf of my own company, I donate money, and then my time and any resources that the company has. Community is everything. Right. And our communities go from being really small inside of our home, to our neighborhood, to our full city, to our area that our city's in, to our province, to our country. It is a big ripple effect. And anything positive that I can bring to somebody else means that they can continue that ripple and bring something else positive to a different person. Right. And that's really, I just like being involved in community events and projects, and standing there and being a supporter and an ally for whatever is going on, unless I really don't agree with it, which is, I don't think I've ever heard of something in my city that I didn't agree with. But I'm a supporter in everything.
Wow. Okay. So, tell me about the Ashley before being such a powerful woman. Like, like, what made you want to do that? Like, all that you're doing as an adult.
Oh, well, my childhood was really rough, right? So I came from a background with a mother who's an alcoholic. So I'm an adult child of an alcoholic. Um, and not knowing who my biological father was. And it left a lot of questions, and it left identity crisis in my head. And am I wanted? Am I not wanted? That self-worth was never really there. Right. And I did a whole lot of work, questioning and not getting any answers. And then I went on a quest for religion because I thought, well, maybe that I'll get answers there. Maybe I'll get some peace with the household I was brought up in. And so yeah, childhood was hard. And then we had grandma raised me, and for that I'm very, very thankful. And she's on the other side, but I talk to her every single day, and she guided me a lot, and she gave me that belief that there was something more to life. And so I was in my teenagers, I went on a quest, but then I got into an abusive relationship, and I was stuck in that relationship for 4 years. We were together, and 2 years he spent stalking me. So 6 years in total. Yeah. It was rough. It was a really bad time. And I started to realize about 8 years ago that I had no idea who I was, what I wanted to do with life. And I had met this wonderful man, and we had been married for a few years. We'd had 2 babies, but I was job surfing. Every single job I had was just not fulfilling me. And I knew that there was something more out there, but I just didn't know what it was. And again, I went on I love going on quests. So I went on quests. Right. I found Reiki. I had been diagnosed at 19 with MS, so multiple sclerosis. I was looking for natural ways to help manage it because there's no cure for it. And I found Reiki, and that was a pivotal moment for me. I found that one, it worked for managing MS symptoms, which was fantastic, but it also unlocked the gifts that I have. Right. So like the tarot reading, I'm a medium, so I can talk to spirits on the other side. I can read past lives, and unlocked so much more. And I knew that I would, and just like everybody out there, but I was destined for greatness. And I really believed that. I had to figure out how I could be great. And it started with healing myself.
And that's important. Some people don't realize that it starts from you. And it really is, you're the foundation. So when you got into Reiki and you began to heal, did you see a shift in your relationship with your husband?
Yeah. And not in the way that you would expect either. We had such a disconnect when I first started getting into Reiki. Reiki does something to our energetic vibration in our bodies, right? So physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual bodies all get this supercharge, and we no longer could communicate. It was like I was speaking a different language to him, and he just didn't understand, right? So it was a really rocky time for a little while, but we both stuck it out, and we're it was, but there were times where I actually went to him and I said, hey, I'm in the middle of healing myself right now, and I think we need to separate. And he said, no, I think we need to stay together, and you can heal at home, right? So, there's a lot of time, but I've always learned that I just run away, right? I learned that running away from problems, whether it be with substance abuse or alcohol or physical running, that was the only coping mechanism I knew. And so he really helped me stay. And sometimes I would I would just feel like awful in my system. And he knew that. And I would just go and lay in bed, or I'd read a book, or I would just do something that I didn't have to put a whole lot of energy into.
Wow.
And yeah, so we are celebrating 10 years married this next month, actually, and 14 years in November that we've been together.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that you're saying that it was a good thing that you did that, because
Yes.
yeah, it elevated you guys to another level. So who would you say, like, through your journey and with your business, who would you say has been your biggest supporter?
I knew that you were going to ask that question, and I dreaded it because there's not one person. There's not one person. People come in our lives for reasons, seasons, or a lifetime, right? And the biggest supporters 3 years ago are no longer my biggest supporter, right? But I have to say, consistently, I am my biggest supporter, right? And it sounds egotistical or narcissistic or whatever, but if you don't have the support of yourself, there is nobody else out there that will support you, right? There are times that there are certain people, like my husband is a great supporter of, like, giving me space and financially supporting me when business is slow, and just, you can do this, right? There are other people that have faith in me when I don't have faith in myself. And that's great. But there's not one specific person that I can say that's been constant, other than, like my husband is supportive of my business, absolutely. But at the same time, he doesn't get business. He's not of the entrepreneur brain, and that's okay, right? That's what makes our relationship great, because we're not the same person. So consistently, yeah, like when I was faced with shutting down my doors permanently last year because I didn't know how I was going to survive COVID, I went into my little hidey hole and I said, you can do this. You can find a way, right? Creator is also my biggest supporter, because I don't do anything. I don't make any decisions without praying first. Right. And I think that faith is a really important pillar in anything that you want to tackle or change or achieve in life.
Yeah, absolutely. And saying that supporting yourself is definitely not egotistical, because you also say in the same realm that the creator is your biggest supporter, but we are in his image. So it behooves us to also learn to love ourselves the way that he loves us, which is unconditionally. And we teach other people how to love us, how to support us. And so, like I said before, the foundation, it starts with us, and so, like, and we are our worst critics. So if you can say that you support yourself and at the same time talk shit to yourself, then you've already gone to a whole other realm. Like you're winning already. You know what I mean? So definitely being your own supporter. Definitely, of course, God is always is taking us down the path, and he will cause us to pivot to where it feels right, and then it just flows. Everything just goes, and you're like, okay, now I'm where I'm supposed to be. And but it's all about listening and being open and willing to see what it is that that we're supposed to do. Like I'm still learning, trying to figure out what it is. I just know I'm supposed to teach. I know I'm supposed to empower. I know I'm supposed to get people to really live life bigger than life itself, or take advantage of living life in general. And so I'm kind of I'm going as the ways flow, and in the same realm, I'm learning how to love myself. I'm learning how to heal. I'm learning how I'm able to take on the challenges that are going to come, when you're taking yourself to the next level on that ladder. And with you having the foundations that you have, especially with knowing the spiritual healings, and knowing what to take from the earth when you're talking about herbs and things like that, knowing what is needed also to help you through those moments. Like, you're already winning. And so we're grateful, Ashley, that you're here with us, that you're able to teach us, and we can learn from you, and we can get to the next level as well through you. So thank you for that.
I'm honored. I'm honored. And we are always continuously learning, right? Today is a great day where everything just makes sense, right? Tomorrow, the creator might put something in my path that said, hey, yesterday you said that I'm your biggest supporter and you always pray and you always listen. So here's a new problem, right? And we have to take that knowledge that we learned in the past and apply it. But there's always something that's just a little different to make us learn just a little bit more, make us really stand behind words that we have said. And that's the thing of integrity, because something that another pillar of mine is integrity. If I say I'm going to do something, I'll do it, unless it is bad for me. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I was talking to a client the other day, and she's helping her ex-husband, and he's a huge abuser. She helped him do his census. And I said, well, why did you do that? She was, well, because I told him months ago that I would. I said, was that before or after you left him? Well, before. I said, so why would you do that now? Because that was just his in to cause you more grief, because now he's back in your inbox and in your text messages. And she's like, well, because I have integrity. I said, integrity is great. I said, and standing up for your word is great. I said, but if you know the outcome is going to hurt you, then it's okay to say, I've changed my mind.
Absolutely.
So,
because
right?
at that moment, you were being truthful, but things have changed, and the integrity that he had when of saying that he was going to love you, and all the vows that we take when we get married. Well, guess what? He didn't hold his end of the bargain. So I'm just saying,
Right.
Things change, homie.
Absolutely. And so, yeah, tomorrow it could be a different thing, because I've said, yes, integrity is important to me. Yes, I pray and stuff like that. But then I could be faced with a whole new thing tomorrow. You know what I mean? And so today is today, and tomorrow is tomorrow. And as long as I remember and remind myself of the lessons I've learned in the past, hopefully I don't make the same lesson opportunities. I don't believe in mistakes, so I don't call them mistakes. I call them lesson opportunities.
Yeah, because that's what they are.
Right. So a lesson opportunity will come around again, and I don't repeat it.
Okay. So what type of advice would you give someone who was like coming up to you, and they kind of say, oh, I relate to you. I've gone through similar situations. But I want to change lives, or I want to start a business, or I want to do something new, but I can't get over the hump. What advice? And then I know it's different depending on
Right. I was like,
person.
well, and what?
Yeah, it's very difficult, because I know everything is scenario driven, but I'm just like a baseline advice would you give someone who's looking for change and just can't get to that point?
I would ask them where their beliefs lie. Right? Because it started with a dream. Like, a business always starts with a dream. Right? I have this dream, and wouldn't it be great if this business would occur, or this invention was made? Then do something with that dream, right? Have set little goals, achievable goals, right? What I find though is that it's more likely the hump is mindset. And you have to really be ready to ride that emotional roller coaster of entrepreneurship, because if you have no idea where the damn seatbelt is even to put on before you get on the roller coaster, you could be in trouble, right? So make sure you've got at least the experience of having an the drive to find the seatbelt, right? Like find your seatbelt, put it on. That's the first step in anything when it comes to business, right? Because that roller coaster will make you question everything about yourself. right? And to really like invest in somebody, or like invest in yourself, first of all, right? So get a mentor, right? Find yourself a mentor that's been where you are, right? Because that's the only, and I don't think I actually, when I first opened my business, I didn't think I needed a mentor, because I'm a Capricorn, I'm a little cocky, right? I'm hard-headed, but it can come off as cockiness. But I'm hard-headed and stubborn, and I was like, I'm going to do this by myself, because I'm a lone goat climbing this mountain, and I don't need to rely on anybody. And then times got really hard, and I had nobody to turn to, because I kept everything to myself. Since opening up and opening those lines of communication and finding mentors, that's been game-changing for me. Because I say, you know, I don't know about this idea or this plan or even this piece of content. Can you give me some feedback? My mentor goes, this is copyright status. Like, are you crazy? And slowly I start to believe in myself a little bit more. I have that strength inside of me, like, because somebody else has gone and validated me, right? And that validation that comes from a mentor, it is outside validation, and really we need to get it from our insides. But a lot of times we can't put it on our inside until somebody on the external can validate that, right? A mentor, somebody that you care about, somebody who's been where you want to be.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Like,
yes, it does. It does. Yes. No, it doesn't make any sense. Okay. So you know, we changed the format a little bit, but we are still going to do like our fire questions. I call them fire question lightning round.
Okay.
So okay, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. You just answer them, you know, whatever comes to mind. All right. Okay. So if anything held you back from making the shift over into where you are now, what was it?
Mindset and finances.
Big ones.
Yeah.
Big ones. What was the best advice you have ever received?
Tomorrow's a new day. Right? Like, that's every time I'm having a moment, I remind myself, like, today is just today is today. Let myself have that moment and take 10 minutes. Okay, tomorrow's a new day. Let's go.
Yes. And I have to say, the sun will come out tomorrow.
I love it. Oh, I was hoping you'd do that.
And taller that tomorrow. Okay. So share a personal habit that contributes to Miss Ashley's success.
A personal habit. Oh, I don't know. You know what? Actually, it's the getting ready in the morning, right? The shower, the hair, the makeup, the outfit. Because I put on a power outfit every single day. And that helps my confidence. And even if I'm having a day with no clients, or, you know, clients have rebooked or rescheduled, or maybe it was a day full of calls where everybody said no. And I'm like, I don't care. I look fantastic. I can go out. I can be confident, right? But it's that outside appearance sometimes is what we need to boost our confidence. So I would say, like, my personal morning routine. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. All right. In the beginning, you told us that you binged as well as built, but you binged on books. So please share a book with the C2C audience and tell us why you recommend this book.
Oh, I didn't write any personal or professional development books when I was binging.
It doesn't matter.
Well, okay. I'm like,
what do you recommend to? We can't talk about that.
We can't. But like, I do enjoy a good, you know, romance novel, And J.R. Ward, I actually binged probably most of her series. She has this series called the Black Dagger Brotherhood series. It is a vampire series. So the Black Dagger Brotherhood is all these vampires and they meet their mates and stuff like that. But the writing is absolutely phenomenal. It is not all romance. Like, it's the smut scenes, though, they're extremely explicit. If you're not used to reading them, don't read them around anybody because your face is going to get real hot. But
Probably not just your face.
Probably not. But the character development is amazing. And the series is like 19 books long. So I've read I'm on book like, I don't know, 15. And yeah, but they can be standalone, or you can read them in the whole series, and they all they work like that. Her writing is just fantastic. So
okay, so that's on the entertainment side. Now,
yeah.
what would you recommend on the self-improvement business side?
Actually, I would recommend Western Body, Eastern Mind. And I can't remember who wrote it, but it takes these psychologists like Erik Erikson, Carl Jung, a few others. Those are like the big names. So in there, and they explain how our chakra system is developed and how it can psychologically affect us when it, the chakra system starts when you're in the womb, in your mother's womb, and a trauma that she experienced can result in you having an underdeveloped or overdeveloped root chakra, and therefore it just goes on and on and on like that, right? And so there's these psychologists in here that explain how the Western world can take on these Eastern practice of healing the chakra system and balancing energies. And there's amazing things in there. That's where my journey really started, with my own self-healing, is that book.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I'm definitely have to get that. I know that it's been told to me before and I have yet to get it, but I definitely have to get it because that sounds very intriguing. So I just looked it up really quick. It's by Anodea Judith. Does that sound familiar? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Hopefully I didn't butcher her name. But yeah, so definitely look that up by Miss Ashley's recommendation. All right, here's your big question, Miss Ashley. If you were given, or if you found out that you have 1 hour left to live, but you were given the opportunity to give one final message, what would it be?
Take the risk, love strong, and have no regrets about anything in your life.
No regrets is big.
It is, because our life is all about like, I shouldn't have done that, and I shouldn't have done this, and I regret doing that, and I regret doing this. I literally have no regrets in my life. And the experiences I've had haven't always been the greatest. I put myself into some very precarious situations. But I'm so grateful that I'm still here, because those situations could have gone one of two ways, right? Luckily, they all turned out fantastic, but I met some really awesome people. Not having regrets about the risks that you took, you take that risk, right? Tell somebody that you love them, be vulnerable, open up, do things that other people think are crazy, right? Go, I don't know. I live with MS every single day. Every day is not guaranteed for me, right? I could wake up tomorrow and not be able to walk. And so, climb the mountain, go on a bull ride a horse if you're terrified of horse, whatever that risk is, and don't have regrets over things that turned out the way they did, because that is exactly the way they were supposed to turn out.
Right. Yeah. Well, thank you, Miss Ashley, I can call you Miss Ashley, you're a teacher, but you are a teacher. You're a teacher in some realms. So yes. But can you please tell our audience where they can find out more about you, where they can follow you, where they can get a session with you, where they can get a reading with you?
So I have my website. It's goldenrayspg.com. You can go and you can book your sessions on there, get some information, email me there. Facebook though, Facebook, Ash Provencher. That is, that seems to be the best way. That's the platform I'm currently on a lot of. Instagram is there. It's ash.provencher on Instagram, but Facebook seems to be my place. So if you really want to get a hold of me, that's where you're going to get me.
All right. Can you spell your name for the audience that's listening?
Oh, yes.
If they don't read the notes.
So Ash, A-S-H, Provencher spelled Provencher.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Oh,
Thank
this is
you.
wonderful. We really appreciate you coming over to the C2C podcast and telling us all about you. And welcome now to the Self-Lift Network, because every guest on the podcast is a part of the network. So you will be able to reach out to Ashley, find her information through us as well. So we are happy you are part of the family. Yes.
Thank you. I'm honored.
And once again, ladies and gentlemen, those of you who are listening, we really appreciate your time. And let's just say bye to Miss Ashley.
Bye.
Oh my God, so that's a wrap. Thank you so much to our guest for being a VIP guest on the C2C podcast. And I just want to thank you I want to say thank you to all my listeners for tuning in. We hope that you feel inspired to keep moving forward towards your goals and stick with or make a commitment to change your life. Please make sure to check out the links provided by our guests and share today's podcast and information with anyone you feel may benefit from it. And remember, in order to get to the top of the steps, you have to take the first step. Just don't step on anyone on the way, because you just might trip. This is Miss Nikki. Till next time.